We always said, just hold on. Like every storm would pass. Like if we stayed together long enough, we'd get our old selves back. So we kept counting down the days, waiting for the skies to clear, never noticing the weather had followed us in here. The problems didn't leave, they moved inside us. What the hurt made us, I don't think we saw it coming. All the walls we built for protection started blocking out the sunlight. What the hurt made us wasn't who we used to be. We were so busy fighting the fire, we forgot what it was burning. You learned how to say less, I learned how to hide more. We called it being careful, but it wasn't that before. Every disappointment left a mark, every argument stayed, until the people in this picture didn't look the same. We kept trying to save the love, while the love was changing us. What the hurt made us, I don't think we saw it coming. All the walls we built for protection started blocking out the sunlight. What the hurt made us wasn't who we used to be. We were so busy fighting the fire, we forgot what it was burning. Maybe the saddest thing isn't what happened to us. Maybe it's how gradually it happened. One compromise, one disappointment, one scar at a time. What the hurt made us still echoes in this room. Two people try to find each other through everything they became. What the hurt made us was never part of the plan. We were trying to survive the damage, not become it. We thought we were carrying the pain. We never noticed the pain was carrying us somewhere else. Every scar became a reason to stay a little longer. Every tear became a promise that we'd come out stronger. We kept counting all the damage, like it had to buy us time, like the price we paid in heartache guaranteed a better life. If it hurt this much, it had to matter. Making me something. Tell me all these sleepless nights were just shadows passing through us, leaving nothing behind. Making me was worth bleeding for. We carried every sacrifice like proof we couldn't quit, because walking away felt like admitting the pain wasn't worth it. So we kept searching for a purpose in every broken piece, certain there was meaning hidden underneath the grief. Hope started sounding like a debt we couldn't pay, making me something. Tell me all these sleepless nights were just shadows passing through us, leaving nothing behind. Making me something. That's what we've been waiting for. One good reason all this heartbreak was worth bleeding for. Maybe that's why we stayed. Not because we were happy, not because we were healing, but because we needed our reward for everything we survived. Making me something. Before the last light disappears, before we have to face what we've been avoiding for years. Making me something. One last answer, one last sign that all the hurt was building towards something worth the time. Pain doesn't become meaningful because it leads somewhere. Sometimes the meaning is simply what it taught you before it left. If anyone asked about us, we had an answer ready. Years of memories, promises, and nights that kept us steady. We could tell the whole story like it happened yesterday. Every reason not to leave always came so easily. But somewhere hearing something missing. We're living on the reasons we stayed, more than the feeling of staying, holding up the history while the present keeps fading. We're living on the reasons we stayed, like they're enough to carry us through. But lately all our best answers sound older than the truth. We know every sacrifice, every mountain that we climbed, every chapter we survived, every place we left behind. But when I look at us right now, I don't know what to say, because the future feels so quiet compared to yesterday. We keep proving why we stayed instead of loving why we do. We're living on the reasons we stayed, more than the feeling of staying, holding up the history while the present keeps fading. Living on the reasons we stayed, like they're enough to carry us through. But lately all our best answers sound older than the truth. Maybe that's the difference between a memory and the future. One reminds you where you've been, the other gives you somewhere to go. And lately we've been looking backward for all our strength. We're living on the reasons we stayed, while running out of reasons to smile, trying to turn old victories into something they are now. We're living on the reasons we stayed, and maybe that's the sign that we've been borrowing meaning from another time. The relationship wasn't surviving because of what it was. It was surviving because of what it had been. I try not to think about it, a life that's not about us, a morning where your memory doesn't hurt this much. Not because I can't imagine it, not because it can't come true, because every version of happiness feels like leaving you. Somehow moving forward feels like turning my back. If I smile again, will it mean I loved you less? If I find a little peace after all of this, if I smile where every dream had two names. So now I don't know how to separate healing from the change. And maybe that's why letting go feels heavier than it should, because part of me still believes being happy means I shouldn't. Like pain became the proof that the love was real. If I smile again, will it mean I loved you less? If I find a little peace after all of this, if I smile again, will it feel like I've moved on, or feel like I'm betraying everything we Maybe grief gets comfortable, maybe sadness starts feeling loyal. Maybe we stay hurt because healing sounds like forgetting, even when it isn't. If I smile again, maybe it won't change a thing. Maybe every memory survives without the suffering. If I smile again, maybe love doesn't disappear just because the heartbreak finally leaves. The love wasn't in the pain, the pain was just what stayed behind. As long as you're still here, the story isn't finished. Every tear can still become something we survived. Every lonely night can still be part of the journey, not the place it ends, not the final line. Hope keeps changing the meaning of everything that hurts. I'm scared of permanent, scared of what goodbye might prove, scared that all this pain won't lead me back to you. I'm scared of permanent, of the silence after hope, when the wounds stop being temporary and become something I know. We kept leaving doors unlocked for futures we couldn't see, because closing them felt too much like surrendering the dream. Maybe that's why we stayed long after we lost our way, because endings make pain real in a different kind of way. As long as there's a chance, the heart still has somewhere to go. I'm scared of permanent, We weren't protecting the possibility, the tiny chance that one day all of this suffering would finally make sense. I'm scared of permanent, but maybe that's the cost of loving something deeply and still ending up lost. I'm scared of permanent, of the things I can't undo, of carrying this heartbreak into someone new. The wound didn't become permanent when we said goodbye. It became permanent the day we chose to love something we could lose. There was a time I'd lose sleep and never think twice about it. A bad night couldn't touch us when the good days felt that bright. Every sacrifice felt smaller than the way you made me feel back when loving you was easy to believe in. But somewhere the math changed, and neither of us said it. We're waiting for it to feel worth it again, waiting for the light to outweigh the shadows, waiting for one reason to carry all the reasons we've stayed. We're waiting for it to feel worth it again, like the love is bigger than the cost, like happiness is still ahead of us and not something we've already lost. Now every good moment feels like something we have to chase, and every bad moment seems determined to stay. We keep talking about tomorrow like it owes us something back, like all the hurt we've carried will eventually pay us back. Hope became a promise we kept, renewing. We're waiting for it to feel worth it again, waiting for the light to outweigh the shadows, waiting for one reason to carry all the reasons we've stayed. Not something we've already lost. Maybe that's why we can't leave. Not because we're certain, but because we're still negotiating with the pain. Trying to make a deal that feels fair. We're waiting for it to feel worth it again. Even as the balance keeps changing, even as the weight gets heavier, and the rewards grow small. We're waiting for it to feel worth it again, because admitting it won't means facing everything we've been avoiding. The relationship didn't become too painful. The happiness stopped keeping up. We can make it through a storm now, like we've done 100 times. Patch the cracks, clean the damage, leave the worst parts behind. We know how to stop a breakup, we know how to calm the fire, we know how to keep this thing breathing when it's hanging by a wire. We learned how to survive so well, but are we surviving us, or are we loving us? I can't tell the difference anymore. Are we keeping this alive, or just keeping it from dying? Holding on without knowing what we're holding for. Every problem has a process, every wound has a routine. We've become experts at recovery and forgotten what joy means. You reach for me when you're hurting, I reach for you the same, but somewhere in all the saving, the feeling started changing. We got stronger, but did we get closer? But are we surviving us, or are we loving us? I can't tell the difference anymore. Are we keeping this alive, or just keeping it from dying? Holding on without knowing what we're holding for. Maybe that's the danger of learning how to endure everything. You stop noticing when endurance becomes the goal, and love becomes an afterthought. Are we surviving us, or are we loving us? Maybe that's the question underneath it all. We've spent years protecting the ending from ever arriving. For so long, every answer started somewhere with your name. Every dream I talked about had you written in the frame. I stopped making plans alone, stopped imagining one chair. Somewhere along the way you became part of everywhere. I don't know when it happened, I just know it did. Who am I without us? Without the story we've been telling, without the future we built, and the life we've been defending. Who am I without us? That's the question I avoid, 'cause losing you feels painful, but losing us feels like a void. We became a single language, spoken over years and years. Shared habits, shared directions, shared hopes, shared fears. And now the thought of separate lives feels stranger than goodbye. Like I'd have to meet a version of myself I've left behind. Maybe that's why we're holding on, not just to each other. Who am I without us? Without the story we've been telling, without the future we built, and the life we've been defending. Who am I without us? That's the question I avoid, 'cause losing you feels painful, but losing us feels like a void. Maybe every long love creates a third person. Not you, not me, just us. And maybe that's the one we're most afraid to bury. Who am I without us? If the chapter finally ends, if the person I've been becoming has to start again. Who am I without us? Maybe that's the real goodbye. Not when you walk away, but when I have to learn my own name again. Maybe us was never supposed to last forever. Maybe it was supposed to teach us who we are. When it doesn't. I still remember that night when forever felt so easy. Two hearts making promises neither one could see beyond. We swore we'd never leave, swore we'd always fight for this. Back when love was simple enough to fit inside a sentence. But years changed keep our word without knowing what it's for. We carried those old vows through every storm and scar, like they were maps that couldn't fail, no matter where we are. But the people who made them don't exist the same way now. Life rewrote the questions, and we never learned how. Maybe promises don't change. Maybe people do. What did we promise? Was it stay no matter what? Was it hold on through the damage, even when it hurts too much? What did we promise? 'Cause I don't know anymore. We're still trying to keep our word without knowing what it's for. Maybe loyalty isn't staying forever. Maybe love isn't proving something. Maybe letting go can honor a promise too. If the promise was never to suffer, but to care. What did we promise? That's the question underneath every goodbye we never said, every truth we couldn't speak. What did we promise? Maybe we misunderstood, thinking love meant never ending, when it only meant being real. The promise didn't become impossible. We just spent so many years changing that one did belong to We wore our loyalty like armor through the years, held on through every storm, every doubt, every tear. Every time it got harder, we told ourselves the same thing. If we just keep going, the good part will come back. Like happiness was waiting at the end of endurance. We're waiting to be worth it, waiting for the payoff, waiting for all this heartache to finally add up. We're waiting to be worth it, like love keeps score somehow, like all the years we carried owe us something now. We stayed when it was difficult, stayed when it felt unfair, stayed because we believed that devotion would get us there. But every sacrifice we made became another reason to expect the future to return what we'd invested. We called it faith, but maybe it was bargaining. We're waiting to be worth it, waiting for the payoff, waiting for all this heartache to finally add up. We're waiting to be worth it, like love keeps score somehow, like all the years we carried was something now. Maybe that's why letting go feels so impossible. Not because we didn't love, but because we spent so long believing loyalty would be enough. We're waiting to be worth it, even as the lights go dim, even as the answers start slipping out of reach. We're waiting to be worth it, because the alternative hurts. Admitting that commitment doesn't guarantee the world. Love never promised us a reward. We just mistook loyalty for a receipt. Every time we almost leave, a question pulls us back. Not about tomorrow, but everything we'd lack. What if no one knows me the way you always did? What if no one else can reach the places that you lived? Maybe that's the fear we've never said out loud. What if you're the best we'll ever have? What if this is as good as love gets? What if letting go means losing the one we'll spend forever trying to forget? What if you're the best we'll ever have? That's the thought that keeps us here, holding on to something breaking, because we're terrified of what's not here. We've seen each other at our worst and somehow stayed around. Built a world from little things no one else would understand. And maybe that's what makes it harder to imagine someone new. Not because they couldn't love us, but because they wouldn't be you. The future feels uncertain. You feel familiar. What if you're the best we'll ever have? What if this is as good as love gets? What if letting go means losing the one we'll spend forever trying to forget? What if you're comes after, in exactly the same way. What if you're the best we'll ever have? Maybe that's the wrong question now. Maybe love isn't a competition between then and what comes next. What if you're the best we'll ever have? Maybe you are, and maybe that's still not a reason to stay. The hardest truth, something can be the greatest love of your life, and still not be the rest of it. We never talked about goodbye when we were writing chapter 1. Back then every road ahead led somewhere bright for us. We pictured all the milestones, the ones we'd someday reach. Never thought the ending would look anything like this. So we keep turning pages, looking for a different last line. This wasn't the ending we carried in our heads. This wasn't the future we promised when we said forever felt easy. Now everything feels wrong. We're still trying to rewrite an ending that's already written. Every time reality speaks, we answer with another dream, another version of tomorrow, another reason to believe. And not because we don't see it, not because we don't know, because the truth feels smaller than the story we were told. We're not fighting for the future, didn't hurt this much. This wasn't the ending, but maybe that's the point. Maybe love doesn't ask permission before it changes course. This wasn't the ending we spent years dreaming of, but sometimes the truest stories don't end the way they're chapters give stories, get to choose. Lately we don't talk about forever. We talk about what we tried. Every late night conversation, every time we chose not to hide. We keep making one more effort, one more promise to be better. Not because we're certain anymore, just because we need the answer. If this falls apart, I don't want the question left behind. Could we have done more? That's the ghost we're running from. One more chance, one more try before we call it done. Could we have done more? That's what keeps us holding on, trying to make peace with the ending before the ending comes. We've become collectors of every sacrifice we made, every moment we stayed honest, every time we chose to stay. Like we're building a defense for the people we'll become when we're standing in the future, looking back at what we've done. Maybe we're not saving love, maybe we're saving ourselves from regret. Could we have done more? That's the ghost we're running from. One more chance, one more try before we call it done. Could we have done more? That's what keeps us holding on, trying to make peace with the ending before the ending comes. Maybe there is no perfect goodbye, no moment where everything feels finished. Maybe all we're really doing is gathering enough courage to live with whatever happens next. Could we have done more? Maybe we'll never really know. Maybe love isn't measured by whether it survives. Could we have done more? Maybe that's the wrong question. Maybe the better one is, did we love each other honestly until the end? The ending wasn't what we were earning. The peace was, and peace came the moment we stopped keeping score. We gave this more than weekends, more than promises and time. We built whole versions of ourselves around the dream we'd survive. Every sacrifice we carried, every plan we rearranged became another reason to believe Cause if it all falls apart, what do we do with all the years? Make it mean more than a story that couldn't last. Make it mean more than a photograph of the past. Make it mean more than all the tears we cried. Tell me there was something waiting on the other side. We kept treating every setback like another test to pass, certain all the pain was building toward a future meant to last. And maybe that's what trapped us, not the love, not the fear, but the need to believe the ending justified the years. We weren't just losing each other, we were losing the meaning. Make it mean more than a story that couldn't last. Make it mean more than a photograph of the past. Make it mean more than all the tears we cried. Tell me there was something waiting on the other Maybe that's why goodbye feels unfair. Not because love wasn't real, but because we wanted proof that everything we gave away was leading somewhere. Make it mean more before the last page turns, before we have to face the truth. We spent years trying to outrun. Make it mean more than a beautiful mistake and two hearts who changed each other and couldn't stay. We thought the meaning was waiting at the end. Maybe the meaning was everything we became along the way. We used to talk about tomorrow, now we talk about what changed. Picking through old conversations, trying to find where we went wrong. Every night becomes a question, every silence needs a name. Like if we understand the damage, it won't hurt the same. We're searching for reasons more than we're searching for each other. We're looking for answers instead of looking for joy, trying to solve the heartbreak like it's something we can't avoid. We're looking for answers like closures hiding somewhere while happiness walks past us. disappears. You ask me what I'm feeling, I ask you what went wrong. We keep pulling apart the story, trying to find the missing song. But every explanation only leads to something else. Another door to open, another version of ourselves. We turn love into an investigation and forgot why we started. We're looking for answers instead of looking for joy, trying to solve the heartbreak like it's something we can't avoid. We're looking for answers like closures hiding somewhere while happiness walks past us and disappears. Wouldn't save us anyway. We're looking for answers, even as the feeling fades, trying to explain the fire while standing in the rain. We're looking for answers when maybe what we need is to stop asking why it's changed and notice what it's become. We kept waiting for closure to make us happy again. We never noticed those were two different things. We've already used the memories, already used the years, already held up every promise against our doubts and fears. We've counted all the reasons 1,000 different ways, trying to make them strong enough to carry us today. Now we're down to almost nothing except hope. One last reason, that's all we're asking for. One moment that feels like us the way it did before. One last reason before the silence wins, before goodbye walks through the door and finally lets itself in. Every conversation lately feels heavier than it should, like we're digging through the wreckage looking for something good. You can see it in my eyes, I can see it in yours too. We're not searching for forever, just one thing to hold on to. We're standing at the edge, waiting for signs. chase one last glimpse of the future we thought we'd always make. One last reason before the darkness settles in, before the thing we're scared to lose stops fighting to be found. We thought we were waiting for one last reason to stay. Maybe we were waiting for permission to leave. Every time we talk about us, we end up somewhere else, in a future that never happened, on a road we never took. We still speak about tomorrow like it got lost along the way, like it's waiting somewhere for us if we could just find the place. We're always looking ahead or looking back. We're in love with the people we never were, the life we never lived, the version of forever we never got to give. We're in love with the people we never were, more than the hearts we hold tonight. Still chasing beautiful maybe, while reality passes by. You talk about the house we'd have, I talk about the dreams we chase. We keep describing strangers like they still belong to us, and every possibility feels brighter than what's real. Maybe that's because potential never has to disappoint you. The dream stayed perfect because it never had to live. We're in love with the people we never were, the life we never lived, the version of forever we never got to give. We're in love with the people we never were, more than the hearts we hold tonight. Still chasing a beautiful maybe, while reality passes by. Maybe that's why letting go feels impossible. Not because of what we had, but because of what we imagined. Because dreams waiting quietly to be seen as they are. The future didn't break our hearts, the fantasy did, because the people we lost never actually existed. We always had a destination, someplace beyond the hurt, a version of our story where all this finally worked. So every sacrifice felt temporary, every tear had somewhere to go. We kept believing someday was closer than we knew. That's what kept us moving, that's what kept us here. We're still waiting for someday, the life we swore was coming, the day the pain would make sense, the day we'd stop running. We're still waiting for someday, but lately I don't know if we're chasing a future or a ghost. Every year we move the finish line a little further down the road. Every disappointment became another way to hold. You could see it in our faces, the tiredness we couldn't hide. Two hearts carrying tomorrow, one shoulder's already tired. Hope got heavier every time it missed us. We're still waiting for someday, the life we swore was coming, the day the pain would make sense, the day we'd stop running. We're still waiting for someday, but lately I don't know if we're chasing a future or a ghost. Maybe that's why we're exhausted, not from loving, not from trying, but from carrying a promise that never arrived, and treating it like it still might. We're still waiting for someday, even as the years disappear, even as the distance grows between the dream and here. We're still waiting for someday, while life keeps moving on. And maybe that's the tragedy, we spent so long preparing for tomorrow that we missed what today was becoming. The future didn't abandon us, it never existed outside of the hope we gave it. You're still the name on my screen, still the voice I hear at night, still the person I call home when the world doesn't feel right. But something keeps disappearing in ways I can't explain, like we're watching colors fade without noticing the change. Nothing is gone, yet everything feels smaller. I'm mourning while you're here, missing you before you're gone, holding your hand while feeling it slip from mine. I'm mourning while you're here, and I don't know what to do. How do you grieve a love that's still standing in the room? We still have our routines, still have pieces of the dream, but every day takes something neither of us can keep. A little less certainty, a little less of the spark, a little more silence living between our hearts. We're acting like we're fine while carrying flowers to something alive. I'm mourning while you're here, missing you before you're gone, holding your hand while feeling it slip from mine. I'm mourning while you're here, and I don't know what to do. How do you grieve a love that's still standing in the Maybe that's the cruelest kind of heartbreak, not the moment you lose someone, but the months before it, when the loss arrives slowly and asks you to live with it before it takes anything away. I'm mourning while you're here, trying not to let it show, trying to love the present while preparing for the loss. I'm mourning while you're here, and maybe you are too. Maybe that's why we're both so tired, carrying goodbye. Before it happens, the relationship wasn't over. That's what made it harder. There was still enough left to miss it. We gave this more than time, more than weekends and late nights. We changed our plans around each other, built our lives side by side. Every sacrifice felt worth it because it pointed somewhere new. Every piece we left behind became part of me and you. As long as we're still here, it all still feels alive. Don't turn into a memory, don't become a story I tell, don't become a a chapter. I keep on the highest shelf. Don't turn into a memory. That's the thing I'm scared of most. Watching all we gave away become something we almost had. The trips we never took, the dreams we rearranged, the people we became, trying to make this work. They're all connected to a future that still has your name, and I don't know how to face them if that future fades away. Because the moment we let go, everything changes tense. Don't turn into a memory. Don't become a story I tell. Don't become a chapter. I keep on the highest shelf. Don't turn into a memory. That's the thing I'm scared of most. Watching all we gave away become something we almost maybe that's why we're holding on, not to the present, not even to tomorrow, but to the feeling that all those years are still becoming something. Don't turn into a memory. Don't become a lesson learned. Don't become a photograph of a fire that used to burn. Don't turn into a memory before we're ready to admit that everything we sacrificed might already be complete. We thought letting go would erase the meaning, but memories aren't where love goes to die. They're where love goes when it can't stay. Every few months we'd say it, this time will be different. Draw another line in the sand and call it a new beginning. But every fresh start carried the weight of what came before. The same scars and different clues, walking through the same door. We called it starting over, but nothing was ever new. We keep starting again instead of starting over, choosing the road we know, even when it gets colder. We keep starting again, like another chance will save us. Maybe 'cause leaving means uncertainty, a future we can't see, while staying means repeating everything that's already been. One path is painful, the other is unfamiliar. We keep starting again instead of starting over, choosing the road we know, even when it gets colder. We keep starting again, like another chance will save us. Maybe we're not chasing hope, maybe we're running from the Maybe that's the difference between courage and comfort. One asks you to trust yourself, the other asks you to trust what you've already survived. We keep starting again while calling it a fresh start, carrying yesterday into tomorrow's arms. We keep starting again because the future feels too wide, and maybe that's the truth. We've been choosing familiarity over possibility. We weren't afraid of failing again. We already knew how to survive that. We were afraid that life without each other might actually be different. I remember when we laughed more than we worried about the fall. Back when every conversation didn't feel so careful. Back when loving you was breathing something I didn't have to try. Before every word got heavier, before every goodbye. Keep talking about those days like they're waiting for us somewhere. Will it ever feel easy again? Will we ever stop walking on glass? Stop treating every little moment like it might be our last. Will it ever feel easy again? Like your heart still feels like home? Or are we just chasing a version of us that already let go? Good days still show up sometimes, just enough to keep us here. Like a photograph of summer in the middle of the year. And every time we find that feeling, we convince ourselves it's proof that if we wait a little longer, we'll find our way back through. But the distance keeps growing while we're looking behind us. Will it ever feel easy again? Will we ever stop walking on glass? Stop treating every little moment like it might be our last. Will it ever feel easy again? Like your heart still feels like home? Or are we just chasing a version of us that already let go? Maybe that's what keeps us here, not the present, not tomorrow, just the memory of how effortless it felt when love didn't need so much maintenance. Will it ever feel easy again? Or is that the question we avoid? Maybe love didn't become harder. Maybe we became heavier, carrying everything that happened in between. We kept waiting for love to feel the way it used to. We both keep holding on, but I don't think it's for the same thing. You're looking toward tomorrow, I'm staring at what could have been. We say the same words out loud, promise we're still trying. But sometimes I wonder if we're hearing different meanings. Same love, different prayers. Maybe we're holding on for different reasons, standing in the same storm, looking in different directions. Maybe we're holding on for different reasons. You see a future, I see a memory, and somehow we're still calling it the same dream. Maybe you're scared of loneliness, maybe I'm scared of regret. Maybe you're protecting tomorrow while I'm protecting what we had. Maybe that's why every conversation feels slightly out of tune, like we're building the same bridge from opposite sides of the truth. We share the relationship, but not the map. Maybe we're holding on for different reasons, we're holding on for different reasons, carrying the same weight for completely different hopes. Maybe we're holding on for different reasons, and that's why every step forward feels like we're pulling against each other without meaning to. We thought we were fighting for the same relationship. Maybe we were just not the same future. Every conversation circles back to the same unfinished place. One road leads through heartbreak, the other through a different kind of pain. We keep laying out the options like the truth is hiding there, but every choice costs something and neither feels fair. The more we search, the less certain we become. There's no right answer, no perfect way through this, no choice that keeps the future from leaving scars like this. There's no right answer, that's what we're scared to face. Some questions break your heart, no matter what you say. Staying means another battle, leaving means another loss. One asks us to keep carrying, the other asks us to let it drop. We keep waiting for clarity, for a sign to point the way, but maybe all that's waiting is another shade of pain. We thought love was a puzzle that could be solved. There's no right answer, no perfect way through this, no choice that keeps the future from leaving scars like this. There's no right answer, that's what we're scared to face. Some questions break your heart, no matter what you say. Maybe that's why we're exhausted, not from the decision, but from trying to find the version of it where nobody gets hurt. There's no right answer, no ending without a cost, no path that gives us everything without asking something back. There's no right answer. Maybe that's the truth that lasts. Not every crossroads leads to a happy ending. Some just ask who you're willing to become. We kept waiting for the right choice to appear. It never did. There were only choices and the courage to live with one. We're a compass pointing somewhere true, but every road still hurt, no matter what they led to. You still matter to me, I still matter to you. That's what made the question harder, not easier to get through. The love survived, the certainty didn't. Love didn't decide, it just stayed in the room. Through every hard conversation, through every doubt we moved through. Love didn't decide, that's what scared me the most. It was still right here beside us, and still didn't know where to go. Maybe that's the lie we believe, that love always knows, that if the feeling is real enough, the answer will appear. But sometimes love isn't a direction, it's just a feeling standing beside the decision. Love didn't decide, it couldn't carry that weight. It couldn't choose our future or tell us what to save. Love didn't decide, it only told the truth, that even when the heart is full, the choice still belongs to you. We kept asking love what we should do. Love never answered, it wasn't the question, it was the reason the question hurt. There was a time we never questioned where the road was leading us. Forever felt so natural, we didn't need to talk about it much. But somewhere between the years, the answers started disappearing, and every promise we once trusted became a little less clear. The future used to feel certain, now it feels far away. All we had was hope when the certainty was gone, when the plans we built together started coming undone. All we had was hope, something fragile we could hold, when every answer slipped away and every truth got cold. We stopped saying when and started saying maybe. Stopped talking like we knew and started talking carefully. Still we carried on, still we searched for something true, because hope was all that remained. exhausted. Hope was never meant to carry this much weight. We kept asking it to replace certainty, and it kept trying. All we had was hope, and maybe that's what hurts, knowing how much we depended on it to keep us moving forward. All we had was hope long after confidence disappeared, long after the future stopped feeling near. Hope kept us together, but hope was never meant to be the foundation, only the bridge. Every road in front of us feels like it leads through pain. One takes away the future, one asks us to stay the same. I look at everything we built, you look at everything we've lost, and somehow both are heavy enough to make us stop. We can't move forward, we can't go back. We're too hurt to stay, too invested to leave, caught between two heartbreaks, neither one sets us free. We're too hurt to stay, too invested to leave, and I don't know which part of this is harder to believe. The memories pull one direction, the wounds pull another way. The love says hold on, the exhaustion says don't. Every conversation ends where it always seems to start, with two people trying to carry more than either heart can hold. We're standing in the middle, and the middle is breaking us. We're too hurt to stay, too invested to leave, caught between two heartbreaks, neither one sets us free. Oh, we're too hurt to stay, too invested to leave, and I don't know which part of this is harder to believe. Maybe that's the cruelest place, not the beginning, not the ending, just the space between them, where every choice hurts, and every day asked for another answer. We're too hurt to stay, too invested to leave, trying to find a door that doesn't cost us everything. We're too hurt to stay, too invested to leave, and maybe that's why we've been here existed. We thought one path would eventually stop hurting. The truth was, both paths hurt. One just hurt now, the other hurt later. Every time things fell apart, we had the same thing to say. This is just a season, we'll find our way. We kept painting pictures of who we'd someday be, a stronger kind of love waiting in the distance. Tomorrow always sounded better than today. We were in love with someday us, the version we could never reach, the hearts that always made it through, the people we believed we'd be. We were in love with someday us, more than the life we had, holding on to potential. Our reality slipped past. Every setback became temporary, every wound became a bridge to a future we kept chasing, but never seemed to live. We talked about the relationship like it was still becoming, while quietly ignoring what it had already become. We kept waiting for arrival without noticing we were there. We were in love with someday us, the version we could never reach, the hearts that always made it through, the people we believed we'd be. We were in love with someday us, more than the life we had, holding on to potential. Our reality slipped Maybe that's why letting go felt impossible, not because of the present, but because of the future. The future kept making promises the present couldn't keep. We were in love with someday us, the dream that kept us holding on, the story that was always one chapter away from changing. We were in love with someday us until one truth broke through, the relationship we wanted and the relationship we had were no longer the same thing. We thought we were waiting for the relationship to become itself. We never realized it already had. We always wore our scars like trophies we had earned. Every fight we made it through, every bridge we didn't burn. We told ourselves survival was a language love could speak, that every storm we weathered made us stronger every week. But lately I've been wondering about the things we never asked. What if it's just endurance? What if we've confused the two? What if staying through the damage isn't proof we're getting through? What if it's just endurance? What if that's what we've become? So good at carrying the weight, we forgot where it came from. We've learned how to recover, learned how to bend instead of break, learned how to keep the story going, no matter what it takes. But somewhere in all that surviving, a question started growing. When was the last time we felt happy instead of simply holding on? We measure every victory by what didn't destroy us. What if it's just endurance? What if we've confused the two? What if staying through the damage isn't proof we're getting through? What if it's just endurance? What if that's what we've become? So good at carrying the weight, we forgot where it came from. Maybe that's the trap. When pain lasts long enough, you start calling survival the same thing as love. Because survival is visible and happiness is harder to prove. What if it's just endurance and we've been reading it all wrong, mistaking our resilience for a reason to belong? What if it's just endurance, not the answer, but the sign that we've spent years protecting something that's barely alive? We kept asking how much the relationship could survive. We forgot to ask whether it was still worth surviving for. We always found a way through, no matter how hard it got. Another fight, another setback, another thing we somehow fought. We took pride in staying standing when everything said we should fall. Made a home out of resilience, built our lives around it all. We were so busy proving we wouldn't give up. We never quit, we never walked away. We carried every broken piece, no matter what it weighed. We never quit, but somewhere in the dark, we stopped asking if this love still felt like a place for our hearts. scar became a reason to keep holding on tighter. Every difficult season made endurance feel like honor. But happiness got quieter while survival got loud, and neither of us noticed the difference at first. We measured success by what we endured. We never quit, we never walked away. We carried every broken piece, no matter what it weighed. We never quit, but somewhere in the dark we stopped asking if this love still felt like a place for us. Maybe that's what happened. We made a promise to stay and slowly forgot why we wanted to stay in the first place. We never quit. Maybe that's the tragedy. We became so committed to not losing each other that we stopped noticing what we were losing inside ourselves. We thought love was proven by how long we stayed. Maybe love was supposed to be proven by how alive we felt while we were there.